Most people are not defeated by the world. They are defeated by the noise in their own mind. They overthink every move, relive every mistake, imagine disasters that never come, and exhaust themselves before life even begins, living entirely inside your head instead of your power. By the end of this, you will understand how to escape the prison of thought and reclaim command over your life. Let me begin by telling you something most people will never realize in their lifetime. The greatest prison ever built has no walls, no bars, no guards, and no locks, yet billions of people live inside it every day. They wake up inside it. They walk through their lives inside it. They fall asleep inside it, and they defend it as if it were their home. That prison is their own mind. From the outside, they appear free. They move, speak, work, laugh, and participate in the world. But inwardly, they are chained to constant thinking, endless imagining, relentless remembering, and obsessive predicting. Their body is in the present, but their mind is imprisoned in a loop of yesterday and tomorrow. They are never truly here. And because they are never here, they are never truly alive. You see, the mind is an extraordinary instrument. It can calculate, design, anticipate, analyze, and create. But the moment you begin living inside it, rather than using it, the instrument becomes a cage. Most people mistake this cage for intelligence. They say they are deep thinkers. They say they are self-aware. They say they are careful. What they really are is confined. They do not experience life directly. They experience their thoughts about life. They do not respond to the world. They react to their interpretation of it. This is the invisible prison of thought. And it is invisible because it feels so natural that no one questions it. A man does not notice the bars if he has never known what freedom feels like. A person does not recognize captivity when it is constructed from their own thinking. They believe the voice in their head is them. They believe every thought is true. They believe every fear is a warning. They believe every doubt is wisdom. Slowly, without resistance, they surrender their power to their own inner noise. Look closely at what happens when you live in your head. The past becomes a courtroom where you are both the accused and the judge. Every mistake is replayed. Every word is examined. Every moment is dissected. Guilt is resurrected daily, even when the crime is long dead. Meanwhile, the future becomes a theater of imagined disasters, betrayals, failures, and losses. Your mind shows you scenes that have never happened and demands you suffer as if they already have. So you are punished by what was and terrified by what might be, while the present moment passes by unnoticed, untouched, unused. This is how a human being becomes exhausted without ever fighting a real battle. This is how someone becomes anxious in a safe room, afraid in a quiet life, and defeated without an enemy. Because the mind, when left ungoverned, will always seek problems. It must justify its existence. If no threat exists, it invents one. If no conflict appears, it creates one. And the more you listen, the more it speaks. The more you obey, the more it commands. Eventually, your life is no longer directed by intention or purpose, but by reaction to thought after thought after thought. Meanwhile, outside the prison, life is happening. Opportunities do not wait. People do not pause. Time does not slow down. While you are preparing yourself mentally, others are claiming what you are still analyzing. While you are rehearsing conversations in your head, others are having them. While you are trying to eliminate risk through thought, others are building experience through action. This is why overthinking feels safe but produces weakness. It replaces movement with mental simulation. It replaces courage with calculation. It replaces living with observing. The most tragic part is this: the prisoner becomes the guard. You enforce your own confinement. You strengthen your own bars. Every time you hesitate, overanalyze, delay, replay, or imagine worst-case scenarios, you tighten the chains. And the longer you stay inside this mental fortress, the more frightening the outside world becomes. Because you have forgotten how to meet life directly. Power does not exist in the mind. It exists in contact with reality. And when a person finally realizes this, when they notice that their suffering has been self-generated, when they recognize that most of their fear has been imaginary, when they see that their thoughts have been ruling their choices, something begins to shift inside them. They start questioning the authority of their own mind. They stop believing every sentence it whispers. They begin stepping out of thought and into experience. They begin tasting freedom for the first time. Not freedom from problems, freedom from unnecessary suffering, freedom from the invisible prison, freedom from the endless commentary that steals the present from your hands and replaces it with ghosts and illusions. Understand this clearly. Power is not something you think your way into. Power is something you move your way into. And this is precisely why overthinking is so dangerous. It does not merely slow your life. It drains your authority, weakens your presence, and quietly removes you from the game while convincing you that you are being responsible. Overthinking creates the illusion of control. You feel productive while doing nothing. You feel protected while becoming fragile. You feel intelligent while growing ineffective. The mind tells you, stay here, analyze more, prepare longer, imagine every possible outcome, reduce every possible risk. And while you obey, your power dissolves. A person who lives in their head becomes predictable. They hesitate. They ask permission from fear. They negotiate with doubt. They require reassurance before every move. Power cannot exist in such a nervous system. Authority cannot grow in a body that is constantly consulting imaginary futures before acting in the present. Look at any figure of influence throughout history. Kings, generals, conquerors, builders of empires. They were not reckless, but they were decisive. They did not wait for certainty. They moved with incomplete information, with imperfect plans, with risk attached to every decision. Why? Because power favors motion. The world does not reward hesitation. It rewards those who step forward while others are still calculating. Overthinking shifts your identity from actor to observer. You are no longer living your life. You are watching yourself think about living it. You sit inside your head running simulations of conversations, arguments, choices, futures, disasters, victories. Meanwhile, the moment in front of you expires. Opportunities decay. Relationships drift. Confidence erodes, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, your will begins to weaken. This is how power is destroyed without violence. Not by enemies, but by internal negotiation. The more you overthink, the more you become dependent on conditions. You tell yourself you will act when you feel ready, when you are confident, when you understand everything, when the timing is perfect, when the fear goes away. But readiness is not something you discover. It is something you create by moving. Confidence is not found in thought. It is forged in action. Clarity is not a prerequisite for progress. It is a result of progress. Overthinking reverses the natural order of growth. Instead of acting and learning, you try to learn without acting. Instead of testing reality, you attempt to solve it in your mind. And the mind, without the correction of experience, becomes detached from truth. It grows dramatic, exaggerated, fearful, and rigid. This is why overthinkers feel exhausted while producing so little. Their nervous system is constantly activated. Their body is preparing for threats that never arrive. Their mind is fighting wars that never happen. They burn energy on illusions, then wonder why they have none left for real life. And here is the most destructive consequence of all. Overthinking slowly erodes your self-trust. Each time you delay action to think more, you teach yourself that you cannot be trusted to decide. Each time you abandon an impulse to analyze it to death, you reinforce the belief that your instincts are unreliable. Eventually, you stop believing in your own authority. You look outward for permission. You wait for approval. You seek certainty from others. This is the death of personal power. A ruler who doubts himself invites rebellion. A person who doubts himself invites paralysis. When overthinking becomes your dominant strategy, you stop being the author of your life and become the audience. You do not choose your path, you review it. You do not shape events, you comment on them. You do not command your future, you predict it, fear it, and postpone it. Power requires a different relationship with the mind. The mind must become an advisor, not a dictator. It must inform action, not replace it. It must calculate risk, not eliminate movement. It must serve the will, not rule it. The moment you recognize that overthinking is not protecting you, but imprisoning you, your entire posture changes. You begin acting before you feel ready. You decide before you feel certain. You move before the mind approves. And in doing so, you reclaim something ancient and formidable inside yourself: authority. Power does not emerge from perfect plans. It emerges from bold contact with reality. It grows every time you act despite doubt. It strengthens each time you move despite fear. It expands when you refuse to negotiate with hesitation. Overthinking destroys power because it replaces courage with calculation and presence with paralysis. It turns life into a waiting room where nothing ever begins. It sedits the will and convinces the soul that safety is more important than sovereignty. And a person who chooses safety over sovereignty will never know what it means to command their own existence. There is a moment that arrives in every life. Though not everyone recognizes it, it does not announce itself with ceremony or applause. It comes quietly, after years of internal noise, after endless conversations with your own doubt, after nights spent replaying the same fears, the same regrets, the same imagined futures. It is the moment when you become exhausted by your own thinking. You are no longer tired of the world. You are tired of your mind. This is the moment everything begins to change. Until this moment, your life has largely been happening in your head. You have been living in theories, rehearsals, predictions, explanations. You have been preparing to live instead of living. You have been waiting for the fear to go away, for clarity to arrive, for confidence to appear, for permission to be granted by some invisible authority. And one day, without warning, you realize the waiting has become heavier than the fear. The prison has become more painful than the risk of escape. So you step forward. Not because you are ready, not because you are certain, but because you are done. This step is small on the outside, but internally it is revolutionary. For the first time, you choose experience over imagination. You choose contact with life over conversation about life. You choose reality over the endless commentary of your mind. And something remarkable happens the moment your feet touch the real world. The mind, which once screamed constantly, begins to lose its volume. Doubt, which once felt overwhelming, begins to weaken. Fear, which once ruled your decisions, starts to shrink. Not because you defeated them through thought, but because you introduced them to reality. Reality is the great disciplinarian of the mind. In imagination, fear is limitless. In reality, it is finite. In thought, problems are enormous. In action, they become specific. In the mind, you are always vulnerable. In experience, you discover your strength. When you finally step into reality, you realize how much of your suffering was hypothetical. How many nights you lost to situations that never arrived. How much energy you sacrificed to battles that never occurred. How many versions of failure you survived in your imagination that never materialized in your life. The world, it turns out, is not as cruel as your mind suggested, not as dangerous, not as impossible. And you begin to feel something unfamiliar and powerful returning to you: presence. Presence is not calmness. Presence is authority over your attention. It is the ability to stand inside a moment without fleeing into thought. It is the state where you are no longer split between memory and anticipation, but fully alive in what is unfolding. This presence changes the way you speak. It changes the way you listen. It changes the way you move. You stop narrating your life and start participating in it. Instead of thinking about what to say, you speak. Instead of analyzing every step, you walk. Instead of calculating every outcome, you choose. The world responds to this shift immediately. People feel it in your presence. Opportunities open differently. Conversations deepen. Obstacles lose their intimidation. You are no longer operating from fear of the unknown, but from engagement with the known. You are no longer trying to control life through thought. You are cooperating with life through action. And with each step into reality, your self-trust grows. You learn that you can handle more than you imagined. You discover that discomfort does not destroy you. You realize that mistakes do not end you. You see that uncertainty does not collapse you. This is how confidence is built. Not by convincing yourself mentally, but by surviving experience physically. The mind once told you that you were fragile. Reality teaches you that you are resilient. The mind once told you that you were unprepared. Reality shows you that preparation happens in motion. The mind once told you that you needed control. Reality shows you that adaptability is far more powerful. When you live in your head, life feels heavy, complex, overwhelming. When you step into reality, life becomes simple, direct, and workable. Problems no longer feel infinite. They become tasks. Challenges stop feeling catastrophic. They become assignments. You stop being afraid of the future because you are no longer abandoning the present. This is the quiet transformation that separates spectators from participants, dreamers from builders, thinkers from leaders. You are no longer waiting for your life to begin. You are no longer watching yourself exist. You are no longer rehearsing your destiny. You are finally living it. There is a moment in life when everything shifts, subtle at first, almost imperceptible. But once it arrives, nothing is ever the same. It comes after you have endured the endless noise of your own mind, after you have stepped into reality despite fear and doubt, after you have tested your courage against uncertainty. It is the moment of transformation, when living fully begins to replace merely thinking about living. And with this transformation comes power, calm, and control. Not the power imposed on others, but the power that begins within. When a person finally stops living inside their head, their posture toward the world changes. Decisions are no longer tortured by hesitation. Actions are no longer delayed by doubt. Words are spoken with weight, not rehearsal. Presence becomes magnetic, because it is no longer diluted by internal chatter. This is not arrogance. It is quiet authority. The type of authority that commands attention simply because it is anchored in certainty of being, rather than in the illusions of what could be. Calm becomes your signature. Life ceases to feel like a storm threatening to overwhelm you. You still face challenges, but they no longer feel like insurmountable mountains. You respond rather than react. You observe rather than panic. The mind, once a storm of hypothetical disasters, becomes an advisor, informing decisions, not dictating them. This calm is a power few recognize, yet it is more intimidating than the loudest displays of dominance. People sense it immediately. They feel it in your energy, in your gaze, in the way you navigate situations without anxiety. Control returns in a way that is both gentle and absolute. It is not the control of external circumstances, for life always resists that. It is the control of self, of thought, of response. Where once you were ruled by imagined outcomes and endless analysis, now you rule your attention. You choose what deserves your energy and what does not. You decide what reality deserves your presence and what the mind can theorize about without consequence. This self-mastery extends to action. You act with clarity because your mind is clear, not clouded by unnecessary fears or endless planning. And with this transformation, you begin to see life differently. Opportunities no longer intimidate you. Challenges no longer paralyze you. Disappointments no longer shatter you. Your mind, which once exaggerated danger, now measures it accurately. Your emotions, which once dictated every choice, now serve as information rather than command. This is the hallmark of those who operate from true power. They are not easily shaken, not easily manipulated, not easily distracted. They are anchored in themselves. This is also when you understand that mastery of life begins inside. You realize that external victories, the wealth, the recognition, the influence, are temporary, dependent on circumstances. But the mastery over your own mind is permanent. It is a fortress no one can invade, a weapon no one can disarm. From this inner citadel, every decision becomes deliberate. Every relationship becomes intentional. Every action carries weight because it is chosen, not compelled by anxiety or expectation. Confidence, born from this transformation, is no longer loud or performative. It does not need to announce itself. It is evident in the way you occupy space, the way you move, the way you speak, the way you endure. You stop seeking validation because your sense of authority comes from your own capacity to act. You stop fearing judgment because you have faced the most critical audience of all, your own mind, and survived. You stop postponing life because you have learned that hesitation was never protection, it was imprisonment. Power, calm, and control converge in a person who has stepped out of the prison of thought and into the command of experience. They are no longer reacting to imagined dangers or rehearsing hypothetical outcomes. They are present, decisive, anchored, and resilient. Their influence is not imposed through fear or intimidation, but radiates naturally from competence, clarity, and mastery over self. And here is the most important truth of all: this transformation is available to anyone willing to stop negotiating with their mind. It requires no perfect plan, no permission from others, no ideal conditions. It requires action, commitment, and the willingness to face reality as it is rather than as the mind imagines it to be. Once this step is taken, once you break free from the tyranny of overthinking, you do not just change your life externally. You change it internally, and from this internal authority flows a life of extraordinary presence, confidence, and power. And so, we arrive at the point every seeker of freedom and power must face: the battle that matters most is not against circumstance, not against rivals, not against the world outside, but against the mind within. For too long, thoughts have whispered orders disguised as truths. Fears have dictated choices disguised as caution, and hesitation has masqueraded as prudence. Living entirely inside your head is a form of captivity, subtle and cruel, draining your energy, your confidence, and your authority without leaving a visible mark. Yet there is a way out, a path as simple as it is profound. It begins with awareness, the recognition that overthinking has held you hostage. It continues with courage, the willingness to step into reality before you feel ready, to act despite doubt, to engage with life directly, rather than rehearsing it endlessly. And it culminates in transformation, the emergence of power, calm, and control that flows not from dominance over others, but from mastery over self. When you stop negotiating with fear, when you step out of imagined battles and into real experience, everything changes. Your presence becomes magnetic, your decisions decisive, and your energy no longer wasted on the shadows of thought. Life stops being something you observe from the sidelines and becomes something you actively shape. The world may remain uncertain. Challenges will continue to appear, and obstacles will never vanish entirely. But none of this can shake the person who has learned to command their own mind. True power is born in this surrender: surrender to action, surrender to experience, surrender to reality. The mind, once a tyrant, becomes a servant. Doubt becomes an advisor, not a jailer. Fear becomes information, not a barrier. And you finally emerge from the invisible prison, fully present, fully alive, fully in control of your own destiny. This is the lesson that every thinker must learn, every dreamer must practice, and every human must confront. The world does not defeat us. The mind, when left unchecked, can. But when we step beyond its whispers, when we choose reality over imagination, action over hesitation, presence over rehearsal, we unlock a life of clarity, power, and extraordinary possibility.